training hard like a samurai, skill sharp. Sweat dripping, hit the mat, no time to nap. Late nights, early morn, grind never stops. Pushing limits, reaching peaks on top of the game. Assessment day, judges watching, no flops allowed. Eyes on me, pressure high, heart pounding loud. Critical glance, they take notes, I rise above. Proving myself, no bluff, this is love. No sweat and tears, the journey ain't soft. Through the fire, through the pain, I lift off. Every setback, every fall, lessons found. Warrior's heart, I surpass battlegrounds. Criticize me, scrutinize me, I absorb. Truth's harsh bite, but it's sharpened sword. Paper and pen, filling gaps, weaving skill. Training's essence, the hunger, raw will. Examine fiercely, no mercy in that stare. Stand tall and true, pride breathe in the air. Skill set displayed, every drop, every ounce. Victory sweet, on the line, about to pounce. From bruises to wisdom, scars to stars. In the ring, on the mat, raised in bars. Self-made mission, no doubt, no retreat. In assessments glare, I find my feet.
Welcome to the Introductory Assessment course for the J.O.L.A.L.F. Building a Foundation for Effective Training and Assessment. This course serves as a cornerstone for your professional development within the J.O.L.A.L.F. It will equip you with the essential knowledge, skills, and understanding necessary to design, deliver, and evaluate effective training and assessment programs. Course objectives. Within this framework, we will explore the principles of adult learning, understand the key principles of adult learning theory and their implications for effective training design, develop a comprehensive understanding of assessment methodologies, explore the diverse range of assessment methods, their strengths and limitations, and their appropriate application in different training contexts. Master the design and development of effective training programs, learn to analyze training needs, develop learning objectives, and design engaging and effective training materials. Acquire proficiency in the delivery of high-quality training, develop effective presentation, facilitation, and coaching skills to maximize learner engagement and learning outcomes. Develop robust assessment strategies, learn to design, implement, and evaluate a range of assessment tools, including tests, observations, simulations, and portfolios. Ensure compliance with relevant standards and regulations, understand and adhere to relevant industry standards, legal requirements, and quality assurance frameworks. Course approach. This course will employ a blended learning approach, combining interactive workshops and simulations, engaging in practical exercises, simulations, and role-playing activities to apply theoretical concepts to real-world training scenarios. Case studies and real-world examples, analyzing real-world case studies and best practices in training and assessment. Peer feedback and collaborative learning, participating in peer feedback sessions and group projects to enhance learning and refine skills. Mentorship and coaching, receiving individualized guidance and support from experienced practitioners to enhance your professional development. Your professional development. Successful completion of this course will enhance your professional credibility, improve your ability to effectively train and assess others, and contribute to the overall effectiveness of training and development initiatives within the J.O.L.A.L.F. We encourage you to actively participate in all course activities and engage with the learning materials. Leverage the resources available to you within the J.O.L.A.L.F. including access to industry best practices, professional networks, and mentorship opportunities. Continuously seek to improve your skills and knowledge through ongoing professional development and reflective practice. Contribute to a culture of continuous improvement by sharing your knowledge and expertise with colleagues. We are confident that this course will provide you with the foundational knowledge and practical skills necessary to excel in your role as a training and assessment professional within the J.O.L.A.L.F. Please carefully review the course syllabus and do not hesitate to consult with the course coordinator for any questions. We look forward to a rewarding and impactful learning experience. This version emphasizes the practical application of learning, focusing on key skills for training and assessment professionals, such as adult learning principles, training design and development, effective training delivery, assessment methodologies, compliance with industry standards. It also highlights the importance of professional development and continuous learning within the context of the J.O.L.A.L.F. Course syllabus, Introductory assessment course for the J.O.L.A.L.F. Course description. This course is designed to equip language professionals within the J.O.L.A.L.F. with the essential knowledge and skills to effectively design, deliver, and evaluate language training programs. We will explore key principles of language learning and teaching, examine various assessment methodologies, and develop practical skills in creating and implementing effective language assessments. Course objectives. Upon successful completion of this course, participants will be able to demonstrate a comprehensive understanding of language learning principles, understand key theories of second language acquisition and their implications for language teaching and learning, identify and analyze the factors that influence language learning, develop learner profiles and tailor learning experiences to individual needs, design and develop effective language training programs, conduct needs assessments and develop clear and measurable learning objectives. Design engaging and effective language learning activities, including communicative tasks, role plays, and authentic materials. Develop and utilize appropriate instructional materials, such as textbooks, multimedia resources, and online learning platforms. Master a range of language assessment methodologies, understand and apply various assessment techniques, including placement tests, diagnostic tests, progress tests, proficiency tests, portfolio assessments, observational assessments, performance-based assessments. Develop valid, reliable, and fair assessment instruments. Analyze and interpret assessment data to inform instruction and track learner progress. Ensure quality assurance in language training, understand and adhere to relevant quality standards and accreditation requirements. Implement effective quality control measures within language training programs. Contribute to the continuous improvement of language training practices. Overall assessment, research activities 30%, active and consistent engagement in independent research activities, including literature reviews, data collection if applicable, and critical analysis of research findings. This may involve attending relevant conferences, workshops, or online seminars. Research proposal 30%, development of a well-defined and feasible research proposal outlining the research question, methodology, data analysis plan, and ethical considerations. Research report 40%, completion of a comprehensive research report that presents findings, analyses, and conclusions in a clear, concise, and scholarly manner. The report should adhere to academic writing standards and include proper citation and referencing. Grading scale, excellent A, 90 to 100%, demonstrates exceptional research skills, originality, and a deep understanding of the research topic. Very good B, 80 to 89%, shows strong research skills, a good understanding of the topic, and well-supported arguments. May have minor areas for improvement. Good C, 70 to 79%, meets the basic requirements of the research project, but may have some areas of weakness in methodology, analysis, or presentation. Fair D, 60 to 69%, displays significant weaknesses in research methodology, analysis, or presentation. May require substantial revisions. Unsatisfactory F, below 60%, fails to meet the basic requirements of the research project, demonstrating significant gaps in understanding and inadequate research skills. Key considerations for Week 1, relevance. These cases should directly address common challenges faced by students in their first week of an assessment course. Discussion. Encourage open and honest discussions among students about their own experiences and perspectives. Actionable solutions. Focus on developing practical strategies and solutions that students can implement immediately. Connection to course content. Relate the case studies to key concepts and theories covered in the first week of the course. Here are some case studies specifically designed for Week 1 of an assessment course focusing on foundational concepts and challenges common at the start of the academic journey. Case Study 1, The Procrastinator. Scenario: Mark, a first-year student, has a strong desire to succeed but consistently finds himself procrastinating on assignments. He knows the deadlines but spends most of his time on social media or playing video games, leaving himself little time to complete the work. Questions: What are the potential consequences of Mark's procrastination? What are some effective time management strategies Mark can implement, e.g. Pomodoro technique, time blocking, breaking down large tasks? How can Mark identify and overcome his personal procrastination triggers? Case Study 2, The Lost Student. Scenario: Sarah is feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information and expectations in her first few weeks of college. She doesn't understand the course objectives, struggles to find relevant resources, and feels lost in the crowd. Questions: What steps can Sarah take to better understand course expectations and learning objectives, e.g. attending office hours, reviewing the syllabus carefully, asking clarifying questions? How can Sarah effectively utilize campus resources, library, tutoring centers, academic advising to navigate her studies? What strategies can Sarah employ to develop effective note-taking and study habits? Case Study 3, The Group Dynamics Challenge. Scenario: A group of 4 students is assigned a group project. One member, John, dominates the discussions, while another member, Emily, remains silent and contributes little. This creates tension and hinders the group's progress. Questions: What are some effective communication strategies the group can implement to ensure everyone's voice is heard, e.g. active listening, clear role assignment, regular check-ins? How can the group address the differing work styles and contributions of its members? What are the benefits of effective group dynamics and how can the group cultivate a positive and productive working environment? Case Study 4, The Academic Integrity Dilemma. Scenario: David is struggling to understand a complex concept for an upcoming exam. He finds a set of lecture notes online that seem to perfectly explain the topic. He's tempted to use these notes as his own, but he's unsure if it constitutes plagiarism. Questions: What is plagiarism and why is it considered academic misconduct? What are the potential consequences of plagiarism? How can David ethically access and utilize information for his studies, e.g. proper citation, paraphrasing, summarizing? Case Study 5, The Perfectionist. Scenario: Anna is a high-achieving student who strives for perfection in all her work. She spends excessive amounts of time on assignments, constantly rereading and revising, leading to anxiety and burnout. Questions: What are the potential negative impacts of perfectionism on academic performance and well-being? How can Anna learn to set realistic expectations for herself and embrace good enough work? What strategies can Anna implement to manage her anxiety and reduce stress related to academic performance, e.g. mindfulness techniques, time management strategies? Case Study 6, The Note-Taking Novice. Scenario: Ben struggles to take effective notes during lectures. He often ends up copying down everything the professor says, without understanding the key concepts. This makes it difficult for him to study and prepare for exams. Questions: What are some effective note-taking strategies, e.g. Cornell method, mind mapping, concept mapping? How can Ben improve his note-taking skills to capture the most important information from lectures? How can Ben effectively review and utilize his notes for studying and exam preparation? Case Study 7, The Plagiarism Pitfall. Scenario: Maria is working on a research paper and struggles to understand a particular academic concept. She finds a well-written paragraph on the topic in a scholarly article and decides to include it in her paper without proper attribution. Questions: What are the different types of plagiarism, e.g. direct plagiarism, self-plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism? How can Maria effectively paraphrase and summarize information from sources to avoid plagiarism? What are the ethical implications of using others' work without proper citation? Case Study 8, The Test Anxiety Trap. Scenario: Alex experiences severe test anxiety, leading to poor performance on exams even though he understands the course material. He feels his heart racing, his mind goes blank, and he struggles to concentrate. Questions: What are some common causes of test anxiety? What are some effective strategies for managing test anxiety, e.g. relaxation techniques, deep breathing exercises, positive self-talk? How can Alex prepare for exams in a way that reduces his anxiety levels, e.g. practice tests, breaking down study sessions? Case Study 9, The Time Management Tornado. Scenario: Lisa is juggling multiple commitments, part-time work, extracurricular activities, and a full course load. She feels overwhelmed and constantly behind schedule. Questions: How can Lisa effectively prioritize her time and commitments? What time management techniques can help Lisa stay organized and on track, e.g. daily planners, to-do lists, time blocking? How can Lisa learn to say no to some commitments to avoid burnout? Case Study 10, The Study Group Struggle. Scenario: A study group of 5 students is formed, but the group quickly becomes unproductive. Some members dominate the discussions, others are not prepared, and the group often gets sidetracked. Questions: How can the study group establish clear goals and expectations for each meeting? What are some effective strategies for ensuring everyone participates and contributes equally? How can the study group stay focused and productive during their study sessions? Key considerations for Week 2, Relevance. The case studies should build upon the foundational concepts introduced in Week 1, delving deeper into more specific or complex aspects of assessment methodologies. Depth of analysis. Encourage students to engage in more in-depth analysis and discussion of the case studies, considering multiple perspectives and exploring the nuances of each scenario. Critical reflection. Foster an environment of critical reflection, prompting students to consider the ethical implications and potential challenges of the assessment methodologies discussed in the case studies. Case Study 11, The Essay Exam Challenge. Scenario: John is preparing for an essay exam in his history class. He understands the key concepts but struggles to organize his thoughts and write a coherent, well-supported argument. Questions: What are the key components of a well-written essay? Thesis statement, supporting evidence, analysis, conclusion. How can John develop effective essay writing strategies? Brainstorming, outlining, drafting, revising. How can John effectively use evidence, primary and secondary sources to support his arguments in an essay? Case Study 12, The research paper roadblock. Scenario: Maria is struggling to find credible sources for her research paper on climate change. She is overwhelmed by the vast amount of information available online and unsure how to evaluate the credibility of different sources. Questions: What are the characteristics of credible academic sources? Peer-reviewed journals, scholarly books, reputable databases. How can Maria effectively use library databases and search engines to find relevant and reliable sources? What strategies can Maria use to evaluate the credibility of online sources? Checking author credentials, examining website bias, verifying information. Case study 13, The presentation panic. Scenario: Alex is nervous about giving an oral presentation in his public speaking class. He experiences stage fright and struggles to maintain eye contact with the audience. Questions: What are some effective strategies for overcoming stage fright and delivering a confident presentation? Preparation, practice, deep breathing exercises. How can Alex engage his audience and deliver a compelling presentation? Clear and concise language, visual aids, strong opening and closing. What are the key elements of effective public speaking? Body language, vocal delivery, audience interaction. Case study 14, The portfolio paradox. Scenario: Sarah is creating an academic portfolio to showcase her work in a writing course. She is unsure which assignments to include and how to effectively present her work to Demon. Midterm exam based on linguistics. So far, key considerations: scope, determine the specific areas of linguistics covered in the first half of the course, e.g. phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, sociolinguistics, historical linguistics. Learning objectives: align exam questions with the course learning objectives, e.g. identify phonemes, analyze word structure, diagram sentence structures, explain semantic relationships, understand language variation. Assessment methods: multiple choice, test knowledge of definitions, concepts, and basic linguistic terms. Short answer: assess understanding of key concepts and ability to apply them to simple examples. Essay questions: evaluate critical thinking, analysis, and ability to synthesize information. Linguistic analysis: analyze short texts or audio-video clips for linguistic features, e.g. identify phonemes, analyze word structure, identify grammatical errors. Sample exam questions: 1. Phonetics, phonology. Multiple choice: which of the following is not a type of phoneme of vowel? B. Consonant. C. Allophone. D. Grapheme. Short answer: explain the difference between a phoneme and an allophone. Provide an example. Linguistic analysis: transcribe the following word into IPA, thought. 2. Morphology. Multiple choice: what is the process of adding ed to a verb to form the past tense called a affixation? B. Compounding. C. Clipping. D. Blending. Short answer: analyze the word unbelievable into its morphemes. 3. Syntax. Multiple choice: what is the grammatical function of the underlined phrase in the sentence, the cat sat on the mat? A subject. B. Verb. C. Adjective. D. Prepositional phrase. Linguistic analysis: diagram the following sentence, the happy dog chased the ball. 4. Semantics. Multiple choice: what is the relationship between the words hot and cold? A synonymy. B. Antonymy. C. Hyponymy. D. Homonymy. Short answer: explain the difference between denotation and connotation. Provide an example. 5. Pragmatics. Short answer: explain the concept of implicature. Provide an example of how implicature can be used in conversation. 6. Sociolinguistics. Multiple choice: what is the term for the variety of language spoken by a particular social group? A dialect. B. Accent. C. Jargon. D. Slang. Short answer, briefly discuss the impact of social factors e.g. age, gender, social class on language use. 7. Historical linguistics. Short answer, explain the concept of language change. Give an example of how English has changed over time. 8. Essay question, discuss the relationship between language and culture. Provide specific examples to support your points. Key considerations for Week 3, encouraging students to use self-reflection and metacognition to evaluate their learning. Fostering a growth mindset among students to promote continuous improvement, providing guidance on effective study habits and time management for assessment preparation. Highlighting the importance of feedback in the assessment process and encouraging students to seek and integrate constructive feedback. Introducing students to different study techniques and resources to support their assessment efforts, e.g. active recall, spaced learning, note-taking strategies. Here are some case studies suitable for Week 3 of an assessment course aligning with your key considerations. Case Study 21, The Self-Reflection Struggles. Scenario: John consistently receives good grades but struggles to identify areas for improvement in his learning. He believes that simply getting good grades is enough and doesn't engage in self-reflection on his study habits or learning strategies. Questions: why is self-reflection an important part of the learning process? How can John use self-assessment tools, e.g. learning journals, reflection questions to identify his strengths and weaknesses as a learner? What are the benefits of setting personal learning goals based on self-reflection? Case Study 22, The Fixed Mindset Trap. Scenario: Sarah believes that her intelligence is fixed and that she is either good or bad at certain subjects. This leads to a fear of failure and a reluctance to challenge herself academically. Questions: explain the concept of a growth mindset and how it differs from a fixed mindset. How can Sarah cultivate a growth mindset and embrace challenges as opportunities for learning and growth? What are the benefits of adopting a growth mindset for academic success and personal development? Case Study 23, The Time Management Tornado Revisited. Scenario: Lisa is struggling to manage her time effectively, despite implementing some time management techniques. She continues to feel overwhelmed and stressed, and her academic performance is suffering. Questions: what are some advanced time management strategies that Lisa can explore, e.g. the Eisenhower matrix, Pareto principle? How can Lisa prioritize tasks more effectively and avoid procrastination? How can Lisa use time management techniques to reduce stress and improve her overall well-being? Case Study 24, The Feedback Fumble. Scenario: David receives feedback on his essay, but he feels defensive and dismissive of the instructor's comments. He believes that the feedback is unfair or that his instructor doesn't understand his work. Questions: how can David approach feedback constructively and use it to improve his learning? What are some effective strategies for receiving and integrating feedback, e.g. active listening, asking clarifying questions, focusing on constructive criticism? How can David use feedback to set goals for future learning and improve his academic performance? Case Study 25, The Study Strategy Struggle. Scenario: Maria relies heavily on rereading her notes as her primary study strategy. She finds that this method is ineffective and that she struggles to retain information. Questions: what are some alternative study strategies that Maria can explore, e.g. active recall, spaced repetition, concept mapping, teaching others? How can Maria determine which study strategies are most effective for her individual learning style? How can Maria use a variety of study techniques to enhance her learning and improve her academic performance? Case Study 26, The Test Anxiety Trap Revisited. Scenario: Alex has tried relaxation techniques, but his test anxiety persists. He now recognizes that his anxiety may stem from specific thought patterns and negative self-talk. Questions: How can Alex identify and challenge negative self-talk related to exams, e.g. cognitive restructuring, positive self-talk? What role does mindfulness play in managing test anxiety? How can Alex use visualization and relaxation techniques to prepare mentally for exams? Case study 27, The Digital Distractions Dilemma. Scenario: Lisa finds it extremely difficult to concentrate on her studies due to constant distractions from her phone and social media. Questions: what strategies can Lisa use to minimize digital distractions while studying, e.g. website blockers, phone-free study zones, time boxing? How can Lisa improve her focus and concentration during study sessions? How can Lisa use technology to enhance her learning instead of hindering it, e.g. using educational apps, online resources, digital note-taking? Case study 28, The Peer Feedback Paradox. Scenario: John's group project received negative feedback from his peers, but he feels that the feedback is unfair and unhelpful. He is unsure how to respond constructively and use the feedback to improve his work. Questions: how can John respectfully address his concerns about the peer feedback he received? What are the key principles of giving and receiving constructive feedback, e.g. specificity, objectivity, respect? How can John use peer feedback to improve his group project and his own individual contributions? Case study 29, The Plagiarism Pitfall Revisited. Scenario: Maria has a strong understanding of plagiarism, but she is concerned about accidentally plagiarizing due to the increasing reliance on online information and the use of AI writing tools. Questions: how can Maria ethically use AI writing tools while maintaining academic integrity? What are the best practices for paraphrasing, summarizing, and citing information from online sources? How can Maria develop her own original ideas and avoid unintentional plagiarism? Case study 30, The Assessment Bias Challenge Revisited. Scenario: a student with a learning disability feels that the current assessment methods in their class do not adequately accommodate their needs and may be unfairly disadvantaging them. Questions: what are reasonable accommodations for students with disabilities in the assessment process? How can instructors ensure that assessments are accessible and equitable for all students? What are the ethical considerations related to providing accommodations for students with disabilities? Key consider. Linguistics Final Exam. Instructions: answer all questions to the best of your ability. Part 1, Multiple Choice 20 points. 1. Phonetics: which of the following is not a manner of articulation? A voiced B fricative, C stop, D nasal. 2. Phonology: minimal pairs are used to identify A allophones, B phonemes, C morphemes, D syllables. 3. Morphology: the process of adding ness to the adjective happy to form the noun happiness is an example of A affixation, B compounding, C clipping, D blending. 4. Syntax: the grammatical function of the underlined phrase in the sentence "the cat sat on the mat" is a subject, B verb, C adjective, D prepositional phrase. 5. Semantics: the relationship between the words hot and cold is a synonymy, B antonymy, C hyponymy, D homonymy. 6. Pragmatics: implicature refers to A the literal meaning of words, B the implied meaning of words in context, C the grammatical structure of sentences, D the study of sound systems. 7. Sociolinguistics: a dialect is A regional or social variety of a language, B an accent, C a language that is no longer spoken, D a pidgin language. 8. Historical linguistics: the process by which languages change over time is known as A language acquisition, B language loss, C language change, D language contact. 9. Language acquisition: the critical period hypothesis suggests that A language learning is most effective in childhood, B all languages are equally complex, C language learning is a conscious process, D language is primarily learned through imitation. 10. Psycholinguistics: tip of the tongue phenomenon refers to A the inability to recall a word, B the difficulty in understanding foreign accents, C the process of speech production, D the use of gestures in communication. Part 2, short answer 40 points. 1. Explain the difference between phonetics and phonology. 2. Analyze the word unforgettable into its morphemes. 3. Diagram the following sentence: the boy who lived defeated the Dark Lord. 4. Explain the difference between denotation and connotation. Provide an example. 5. Briefly discuss the impact of social factors, e.g. age, gender, social class on language use. 6. Explain the concept of language change. Give an example of how English has changed over time. Part 3, Essay 40 points. Choose one of the following essay topics. 1. Discuss the relationship between language and culture, providing specific examples to support your points. 2. Analyze the role of technology in language change and language use in the 21st century. 3. Discuss the ethical implications of language policies and language planning. Remember to answer all questions to the best of your ability. Provide clear and concise explanations. Support your answers with evidence and examples where appropriate. Key considerations for Week 5. Emphasize revisiting key concepts and skills from previous weeks to reinforce learning. Address common challenges and setbacks that students might encounter in the assessment process. Encourage self-reflection and metacognition to enhance understanding and retention. Promote time management and organization skills to manage workloads and prevent burnout. Highlight the importance of staying engaged and motivated, especially if the assessment process seems tedious or mundane at times. Case Study 41, The Scope Creep Struggle. Scenario: John's final project, initially focused on analyzing the impact of social media on teenagers, gradually expanded to include the effects on all age groups, the role of government regulation, and the psychological implications of internet addiction. This led to significant delays and a feeling of being overwhelmed. Questions: how could John have better defined and maintained the scope of his project? What are the potential consequences of scope creep on project timelines, quality, and overall success? How can students learn to identify and manage scope creep effectively in future projects? Case Study 42, The Data Overload Dilemma. Scenario: Maria conducted extensive research for her final report but found herself drowning in a sea of information. She struggled to identify the most relevant data, effectively analyze it, and present her findings in a clear and concise manner. Questions: what are some effective strategies for managing large amounts of data and information? How can students learn to critically evaluate the quality and relevance of their research sources? How can students effectively synthesize and present complex information in a clear and engaging way? Case Study 43, The Presentation Panic Revisited. Scenario: Alex successfully completed his final project but is now facing the daunting task of presenting his findings to the class. He is experiencing significant stage fright and is unsure how to effectively communicate his research to the audience. Questions: how can Alex prepare for his presentation to minimize anxiety and maximize impact? What are some effective strategies for engaging the audience during a presentation? How can Alex use visual aids and storytelling techniques to enhance his presentation? Case Study 44, The Reflection Roadblock. Scenario: John completed his final project but did not engage in any significant self-reflection on the process. He feels that he could have learned more from the experience but is unsure how to effectively analyze his successes and failures. Questions: how can John conduct a thorough self-assessment of his project, including its strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement? What are the benefits of conducting a post-project reflection? How can John use this reflection to improve his project management and research skills for future projects? Case Study 45, The What-If Syndrome. Scenario: Maria is experiencing post-project anxiety, constantly second-guessing her work and wondering if she could have done things differently. She is struggling to move on from the project and focus on other tasks. Questions: How can Maria learn to accept the completion of her project and move forward? What are some strategies for managing post-project anxiety and celebrating accomplishments? How can Maria use this experience as a learning opportunity for future projects and academic endeavors? Case Study 46, The Ethical Dilemma. Scenario: John's research involves collecting data from human participants. He is unsure about the ethical implications of his research design and how to ensure the privacy and well-being of his participants. Questions: what are the ethical considerations that John needs to address in his research, e.g. informed consent, data privacy, potential harm? How can John ensure that his research is conducted ethically and responsibly? What resources are available to help researchers understand and address ethical concerns? Case Study 47, The Plagiarism Pitfall Revisited. Scenario: Maria is using AI writing tools to assist with the writing process for her final report. She is unsure about the ethical implications of using AI and how to properly cite and acknowledge the use of these tools. Questions: how can Maria ethically use AI writing tools while maintaining academic integrity? What are the best practices for citing and acknowledging the use of AI tools in academic work? What are the potential implications of the increasing use of AI in academic writing? Case Study 48, The Dissemination Challenge. Scenario: John has completed his research project, but he is unsure how to effectively communicate his findings to a wider audience. He is considering publishing his work in an academic journal but is unsure about the publication process. Questions: what are the different ways to disseminate research findings, e.g. academic publications, conferences, presentations, public outreach? How can John choose the most appropriate dissemination channels for his research? What are the key steps involved in preparing a manuscript for academic publication? Case Study 49, The Big Picture Perspective. Scenario: Maria's final project focused on a specific research question, but she now realizes that her findings have broader implications for the field and society as a whole. Questions: how can Maria connect her research findings to larger societal issues and trends? How can she communicate the broader impact of her work to different audiences? What are the potential implications of her research for future research and policy decisions? Case Study 50, The Lifelong Learning Mindset. Scenario: John has successfully completed his final project, but he recognizes that learning is an ongoing process. He wants to continue to develop his research skills and stay updated on the latest developments in his field. Questions: how can John continue to learn and grow as a researcher after completing his project, e.g. professional development, networking, lifelong learning opportunities? What are the benefits of engaging in lifelong learning for academic and professional success? How can John maintain a passion for learning and continue to explore new ideas and challenges? Key considerations for Week 6, focus on the future of work, analyze how technology, globalization, and societal shifts are transforming the workplace and the skills needed to succeed. Ethical considerations, examine ethical implications of AI, data privacy, bias, and the responsible use of technology in training and assessment. Technology integration, evaluate the effectiveness and ethical use of technology-enabled learning solutions, e.g. AI, VR, online platforms. Global perspectives, consider global trends, cross-cultural training needs, and the challenges of implementing training programs in diverse contexts. Lifelong learning, emphasize the importance of continuous learning, adaptability, and developing skills for the future of work. Continuous improvement, focus on the need for ongoing evaluation, feedback, and refinement of training programs to ensure their effectiveness and relevance. Case Study 51, The AI Revolution. Scenario: a manufacturing company is considering implementing AI-powered robots to automate many of its production processes. This will likely lead to job displacement for many of its current employees. Questions: How can the company ethically and responsibly implement this technological change? What training and support programs should be offered to affected employees? How can the company ensure a just transition for its workforce in the face of automation? Case Study 52, The Skills Gap Challenge. Scenario: a rapidly growing technology company is struggling to find qualified candidates to fill critical roles. They recognize a significant skills gap in the workforce and are exploring innovative training and development programs. Questions: how can the company effectively identify and address the specific skills gaps within its industry? What are some innovative training and development programs that can be implemented to upskill the existing workforce and attract new talent? How can the company partner with educational institutions to bridge the skills gap and prepare future generations for the demands of the modern workforce? Case Study 53, The Diversity and Inclusion Dilemma. Scenario: a large corporation has implemented diversity and inclusion initiatives but is struggling to ensure that these initiatives are effectively translated into meaningful changes in workplace culture and employee experiences. Questions: how can the company effectively measure the impact of its diversity and inclusion initiatives? What are some strategies for creating a truly inclusive workplace culture where all employees feel valued, respected, and have equal opportunities for growth and advancement? How can the company address unconscious bias and systemic inequities within its organization? Case Study 54, The Ethical AI Conundrum. Scenario: a healthcare provider is considering implementing AI-powered diagnostic tools. While these tools offer the potential for improved patient outcomes, there are concerns about potential biases, data privacy, and the ethical implications of relying on AI for critical medical decisions. Questions: how can the healthcare provider ensure the ethical and responsible use of AI in patient care? What measures can be taken to mitigate potential biases and ensure fairness and equity in AI-powered healthcare solutions? How can the healthcare provider maintain transparency and build trust with patients regarding the use of AI in their care? Case Study 55, The Lifelong Learning Imperative. Scenario: in today's rapidly changing world, continuous learning and skill development are essential for individuals to remain competitive in the job market. Questions: how can individuals effectively identify and address their own learning and development needs? What are some effective strategies for lifelong learning, e.g., online courses, mentorship, professional development programs? How can individuals and organizations work together to foster a culture of lifelong learning? Case Study 56, The Micro-Learning Revolution. Scenario: a large corporation is exploring the use of micro-learning techniques, short, bite-sized learning modules, to improve employee engagement and knowledge retention. Questions: how can the company effectively design and implement micro-learning programs that are engaging, effective, and aligned with employee learning needs? What are the advantages and disadvantages of micro-learning compared to traditional training methods? How can the company measure the effectiveness of micro-learning programs and track employee learning outcomes? Case Study 57, The Coaching Culture. Scenario: a company wants to foster a culture of continuous learning and development by implementing a coaching program for its employees. Questions: how can the company effectively select, train, and support internal or external coaches? What are the key principles of effective coaching, and how can these principles be applied in a workplace setting? How can the company ensure that its coaching program is accessible to all employees and contributes to a positive and supportive work environment? Case Study 58, The Gamification of Learning. Scenario: a training and development team is exploring the use of gamification techniques to make learning more engaging and interactive for employees. Questions: how can gamification be effectively integrated into training programs to enhance employee motivation, engagement, and knowledge retention? What are the ethical considerations related to the use of gamification in training and development? How can the company ensure that gamified training programs are effective and aligned with learning objectives? Case Study 59, The Cross-Cultural Training Challenge. Scenario: a multinational corporation is expanding its operations into a new international market. They recognize the need to provide cross-cultural training to their employees to improve communication, collaboration, and cultural sensitivity. Questions: how can the company design and deliver effective cross-cultural training programs that address the specific needs and challenges of its employees? What are the key cultural dimensions that should be considered in cross-cultural training? How can the company ensure that cross-cultural training is ongoing and relevant to the evolving global business environment? Case Study 60, The Future of Work. Scenario: anticipating the changing nature of work, a company is exploring how to prepare its workforce for the future. This includes addressing the rise of automation, the gig economy, and the increasing demand for digital skills. Questions: how can the company proactively address the evolving needs of the workforce and prepare employees for the future of work? What are the key skills and competencies that will be in high demand in the future job market? How can the company collaborate with educational institutions and other stakeholders to develop a skilled and adaptable workforce? Final project: assessing 60 case studies in training and assessment, a linguistic approach. This project will involve a comprehensive analysis and assessment of 60 case studies in training and assessment, focusing on the linguistic dimensions of these scenarios. 1. Linguistic categorization and prioritization. Categorization. Divide the 60 case studies into themes based on key linguistic features. Pragmatics. Focus on cases involving communication breakdowns, politeness issues, and the use of language in social contexts. Discourse analysis. Analyze cases related to the structure of conversations, the flow of information, and the use of language to achieve specific communicative goals. Sociolinguistics. Categorize cases that highlight the impact of social factors, e.g., gender, ethnicity, social class on language use, communication styles, and assessment practices. Lexicosemantics. Focus on cases involving the use of specialized terminology, jargon, and the clarity and precision of language in assessment materials and communication. Prioritization. Select 10 to 15 case studies within each category that represent the most critical or challenging scenarios for language-focused analysis. 2. Linguistic assessment methods. Multiple choice questions, MCQs, knowledge-based, test understanding of key linguistic concepts, e.g., pragmatics, discourse markers, sociolinguistic variations and their relevance to training and assessment. Scenario-based. Present case study excerpts and ask MCQs about appropriate language choices, potential communication barriers, or the interpretation of linguistic cues. Short answer questions, SAQs, linguistic analysis, require concise explanations of how linguistic factors, e.g., register, tone, politeness influence communication and assessment outcomes in specific scenarios. Problem solving. Present case studies with communication challenges and ask for solutions that address the underlying linguistic issues. Case study analysis. In-depth linguistic analysis. Provide a full case study and require a comprehensive analysis, including identifying key linguistic features and how they impact the training and assessment process. Analyzing the use of language in assessment materials, e.g., instructions, rubrics, feedback for clarity, fairness, and cultural appropriateness. Proposing alternative approaches to language use and communication that could improve the effectiveness and fairness of training and assessment. Justifying recommendations with relevant linguistic theories, research, and best practices. 3. Grading and feedback. Rubrics. Develop clear rubrics for each assessment method, specifically addressing the linguistic dimensions of the analysis, e.g., accuracy of linguistic analysis, depth of understanding of linguistic concepts, clarity and persuasiveness of arguments. Feedback. Provide constructive and specific feedback to learners on their assessments, focusing on the quality of their linguistic analysis, the accuracy of their interpretations, and the effectiveness of their proposed solutions. Formative assessment: incorporate formative assessment activities, e.g. peer review of linguistic analyses, discussions of key linguistic concepts throughout the learning process to provide ongoing feedback and support. For technology integration, learning management system (LMS), utilize an LMS to deliver assessments, track progress, and provide feedback. Online resources: integrate relevant online resources, such as linguistic corpora, style guides, and databases of communication best practices, into the assessment process. Key considerations: authenticity: ensure that assessments are authentic and reflect real-world workplace scenarios that involve diverse communication contexts and challenges. Cultural sensitivity: acknowledge and address the impact of cultural and linguistic diversity on communication and assessment practices. Fairness and equity: ensure that assessments are fair and equitable for all learners, regardless of their linguistic background or communication styles. By incorporating a strong linguistic focus into the analysis and assessment of these case studies, this project will provide valuable insights into the critical role of language in effective training and assessment practices. This revised description emphasizes the linguistic aspects of the project, aligning it more closely with a focus on language use, communication, and the impact of linguistic factors on training and assessment outcomes.
Training hard like a samurai, skill sharp, sweat dripping, hit the mat, no time to nap. Late nights, early morning grind never stops, pushing limits, reaching peaks on top of the game. Assessment day, judges watching, no flops allowed. Eyes on me, pressure high, heart pounding loud. Critical glance, they take notes, I rise above, proving myself, no bluff, this is love. Sweat tears, the journey ain't soft. Through the fire, through the pain I lift off. Every setback, every fall, lessons found. Warrior's heart, I surpass battlegrounds. Criticize me, scrutinize me, I absorb. Truth's harsh bite, but a sharpened sword. Paper and pen, filling gaps, weaving skill. Training's essence, the hunger, raw will. Examine fiercely your mercy and I stare. Stand tall, exude pride, breathe in the air. Skill set displayed, every drop, every ounce. Victory sweet, on the line, about to pounce. From bruises to wisdom, scars to stars. In the ring, on the mat, raising bars. Self-made mission, no doubt, no retreat. In assessment's glare, I find my feet. Skill sharp, sweat dripping, hit the mat, no time to nap. Late nights, early morning grind never stops, pushing limits, reaching peaks on top of the game. Assessment day, judges watching, no flops allowed. Eyes on me, pressure high, heart pounding loud. Critical class, they take notes, I rise above, proving myself, no bluff, this is love. Blood, sweat, tears, the journey ain't soft. Through the fire, through the pain I lift off. Every setback, every fall, lessons found.